There is something you were taught so early and so completely that you never thought to question it. It was not taught in words. It was taught by the way adults pointed at objects and named them. By the way your hand reached for a cup and the cup was solid. By the way the floor held you, the wall stopped you, the mirror showed you a face and everyone agreed that face was you. What you were taught, without anyone ever saying it directly, was that the world is already here. Fixed, finished, waiting for you to walk through it like a visitor in a museum where nothing moves until you have left the room. And for most of your life, that was enough. That understanding carried you through school, through relationships, through jobs and losses and ordinary Tuesdays. The floor held, the walls stayed, the face in the mirror aged slowly enough that you could keep calling it yours. But something brought you here today. Maybe it was a feeling you could not name. Maybe it was a crack in the certainty, a moment where reality flickered like a screen refreshing, and you caught the gap between frames. Maybe you read a headline about quantum physics and felt a strange pull, not curiosity exactly, but recognition. As if some part of you already knew what the physicists were finding and had been waiting for the rest of you to catch up. Whatever brought you here, I want you to stay for the full length of what is about to unfold. Not because I am going to hand you a new belief system. Not because I am going to tell you that reality is an illusion and nothing matters. What I am going to do is walk you through what actually happens at the foundation of the physical world. The specific experiments, the precise results. And then I am going to sit with you inside the implications that most people rush past, because the implications are, frankly, uncomfortable. They do not just change how you think about atoms. They change how you think about your eyes, your choices. The moment you are sitting in right now. This is not about adding quantum physics to your collection of interesting facts. This is about what happens to you, inside you, when you genuinely absorb what these experiments reveal. Because the knowledge itself is a kind of threshold. And once you cross it, the museum you thought you were walking through starts to look less like a building and more like a dream that is being dreamed in real time by something that includes you. Let us start where the fracture first appeared. 1927, a laboratory in New York. Clinton Davison and Lester Germer were firing electrons at a crystal of nickel. They were not trying to revolutionize physics. They were studying the surface of the metal. But the electrons did something that electrons, as particles, had no business doing. They diffracted. They spread out in a pattern that only waves produce. The same kind of interference pattern you see when two ripples cross each other in a pond. This was not supposed to happen. Electrons were particles. Tiny, solid, definite. They had mass. They had charge. They hit things. But here they were, behaving as if they were waves, spreading through space, interfering with themselves, producing bands of intensity that could only mean one thing. The electron was not traveling from point A to point B like a bullet. It was arriving like a wave arrives, everywhere at once along the crest, with the final location determined not by a trajectory but by probability. Now, this alone was disturbing enough. But the real fracture came a few years later, in a version of the experiment that has become the most discussed, most debated, most quietly terrifying experiment in the history of science. The double-slit experiment. Here is the setup, and I want you to picture it precisely, because the precision is where the strangeness lives. You have a barrier with two narrow slits cut into it. Behind the barrier is a detection screen, something like a photographic plate that records where particles land. You fire particles one at a time at the barrier. Each particle can go through the left slit or the right slit. You wait. You let thousands of particles accumulate on the detection screen. If these particles were tiny balls, like grains of sand, you would expect two clusters on the screen, one behind each slit. Two bands. That is what solid things do. They go through one opening or the other and pile up accordingly. But that is not what happens. What appears on the screen is an interference pattern. Multiple bands, alternating bright and dark. The signature of waves that have passed through both slits and interfered with each other. Peaks where the waves reinforced, troughs where they canceled. The particles, fired one at a time, each one a single, individual, supposedly solid entity, are collectively producing a pattern that only makes sense if each particle went through both slits simultaneously, interfered with itself, and then landed on the screen according to the resulting probability distribution. Sit with that for a moment. There is a reason some people shift their reality quickly, and others do the work for years and stay stuck. It is not what you think. There is something underneath all of it, quietly running the show. I am hosting a free live transmission where I walk you through exactly what that is and how to finally shift it at the root. The link to register is in the description below. Save your seat. The moment you see this, you will understand why you could not see it before. A single particle, with mass, with measurable properties, appears to pass through two openings at the same time. It does not split in half. It is not that half goes left and half goes right. The entire particle, in some sense, takes both paths. It exists in what physicists call a superposition, a state where mutually exclusive possibilities are held simultaneously, not as a metaphor, not as a limitation of our knowledge, but as a genuine feature of how the particle exists before it is found somewhere specific. This was strange enough to make physicists uncomfortable for decades, but the experiment was not finished revealing its secrets. Because then someone asked the obvious question: if the particle goes through both slits, can we watch it? Can we put a detector at one of the slits and catch the particle in the act of going through both? And here is where reality broke. When you place a detector at one of the slits, when you set up any device that could in principle tell you which slit the particle went through, the interference pattern disappears. Completely. The particles start behaving like tiny balls. Two clusters. No interference. No wave behavior. The act of acquiring information about which path the particle took changes what the particle does. I need you to understand what this means and what it does not mean. It does not mean that the detector physically bumped the particle and disrupted it. Physicists have designed increasingly delicate versions of this experiment, using methods of detection so subtle that they could not possibly disturb the particle through any mechanical interaction. It does not matter. The pattern still collapses. What matters is not the physical interaction. What matters is whether information about the path is available, whether it is possible, even in principle, to know which slit the particle traversed. The universe, at its most fundamental level, seems to be making a distinction between what is observed and what is not. And that distinction changes what physically happens. This is not a fringe interpretation. This is the experimental result. It has been replicated thousands of times, with photons, with electrons, with atoms, with molecules containing hundreds of atoms. In 2019, a team in Vienna demonstrated quantum interference with molecules so large they were visible under an electron microscope. The boundary keeps getting pushed, but the result holds. Observation matters. Measurement matters. The act of looking is not passive. It is participatory. If this is beginning to shift something in the way you see yourself and the world around you, take a moment to hit the like button and subscribe so we can keep exploring these depths together. Now, most people hear this and immediately try to tame it. They say, well, it is just the instrument that disturbs the particle. Or they say, this only applies at the quantum scale. It has nothing to do with everyday life. Or they say, observation just means interaction with another particle. It does not mean consciousness is involved. And these responses are understandable. They are the mind's attempt to keep the museum intact, to preserve the idea that the world is already here, fixed, finished, independent of whether anyone is looking. But the experiments do not let you rest there, because there is another version of this experiment that takes the strangeness and multiplies it by an order of magnitude. It is called the delayed choice experiment, and it was first proposed by the physicist John Archibald Wheeler in 1978, and eventually carried out in the laboratory in 2007 by a team in France led by Alain Aspect's group, and then with increasing sophistication in subsequent years. Here is what Wheeler proposed. What if you let the particle pass through the slits first, and only then decide whether to observe which path it took? In other words, what if the choice to measure comes after the particle has already done whatever it is going to do at the barrier? In a classical world, this should not matter. The particle already went through one slit or both. The past is the past. Your later decision to look or not look cannot reach backward and change what already happened. But in the delayed choice experiment, it can. Or rather, it does. When the experimenters choose, after the particle has passed the slits, to measure which path information, the interference pattern disappears, as if the particle had gone through only one slit. When they choose not to measure, the interference pattern appears, as if the particle had gone through both. The decision made after the event determines what the particle did before the decision was made. Wheeler himself said it plainly. No phenomenon is a phenomenon until it is an observed phenomenon. The past, he argued, is not fixed until it is registered in the present. The particle does not have a definite history until that history is called into being by an act of observation. Now I want to pause here because there is a tendency in conversations like this to leap immediately to the grand conclusion. To say, see, consciousness creates reality, and then move on as if the work is done. But the work is not done. The leap is too fast, and the speed of the leap is actually what prevents the insight from landing where it needs to land, which is not in your intellect, but in your body, in the way you actually experience being alive. So instead of leaping, I want to slow down. I want to stay with what the experiment actually shows and let it press against the assumptions you carry without knowing you carry them. The first assumption it presses against is the assumption that things have definite properties before you look at them. This seems so obvious that it barely qualifies as an assumption. The cup on the table is there, whether you look at it or not. The moon does not disappear when no one is watching. Einstein himself objected to the quantum view on exactly these grounds. He famously asked Abraham Pais, "Do you really believe the moon is not there when nobody looks?" But the experiments suggest something more subtle than the moon blinking in and out of existence. They suggest that at the most fundamental level, physical properties are not pre-existing attributes waiting to be discovered. They are outcomes that emerge through the process of measurement. The electron does not have a definite position that you then find. It has a probability distribution, a cloud of potential positions, and the act of measurement is what selects one from the cloud. Before measurement, asking where the electron is not a question with a hidden answer. It is a question that does not yet have an answer. This was formalized by Werner Heisenberg in his uncertainty principle, but it goes deeper than the common understanding of that principle. Most people think the uncertainty principle says we cannot know both the position and momentum of a particle at the same time because measuring one disturbs the other. That is the shallow version. The deeper version, the one that Heisenberg himself eventually articulated, is that the particle does not possess both a definite position and a definite momentum at the same time. These properties are not hidden. They are not there. They come into being through the act of measurement, and the type of measurement you choose determines which property becomes real. Let that settle, not as a theory, as an experience, because you are made of these particles. Every atom in your body is built from components that, at the deepest level, do not have definite properties until something calls those properties into existence. You are not a solid thing moving through a solid world. You are a process, a continuous act of becoming that is, in some way that physics has not yet fully explained, entangled with the act of observation itself. I want to ask you something here. Has there been a moment in your life where you felt reality shift, where something you were certain about suddenly became uncertain, and in that uncertainty you glimpsed something larger? I would love to hear about that moment in the comments below. The second assumption the experiment presses against is the assumption that the past is fixed. The delayed choice results do not say that you can change history in the way science fiction imagines, going back and making different choices. They say something more disorienting. They say that what happened in the past is not fully determined until it is observed in the present. The particle's history through the slits is not a settled fact that exists independently of the measurement made later. The measurement and the history arise together as a single event stretched across time. This connects to something the physicist Yakir Aharonov has explored in what he calls the two-state vector formalism. In this framework, a quantum system is described not just by its initial conditions, the state it was prepared in, but also by its final conditions, the measurement that will be made on it. Both the past and the future contribute to what is real in the present. The present moment is not a point on a line moving from past to future. It is a place where two influences meet, one from what has been and one from what will be. And what exists right now is the interference pattern of those two waves. This is not mysticism dressed in equations. This is a published, peer-reviewed framework in the foundations of physics. And it suggests something that your direct experience may have already hinted at. That the present moment is thicker than you think. That it contains more than just what is happening now. That it is shaped in ways you can feel but not usually articulate, by where you are going as much as by where you have been. Think about a time when you made a decision that, looking back, seemed to rearrange everything that came before it. Not just your future, but your past. The memories reorganized. Events that seemed random suddenly looked purposeful. A painful experience that had no meaning for years suddenly became the thing that made you ready. You did not change the facts. But the significance of the facts changed, and significance is not a decoration on top of reality. In a quantum universe, significance may be closer to the thing itself. Now, there is a third experiment I want to walk through, because it addresses the question that is probably forming in your mind right now. You might be thinking, fine, particles behave strangely, but I am not a particle. I am a person. I live at a scale where quantum effects wash out, where the classical world takes over, where things are solid and definite, and the cup stays on the table. And this is where the work of physicist Anton Zeilinger and his group in Vienna becomes essential. Zeilinger has spent decades pushing the boundary of quantum behavior to larger and larger systems. His team has demonstrated quantum interference, the same wave-like behavior from the double-slit experiment, with increasingly massive molecules. Fullerenes, molecules made of 60 carbon atoms arranged in a soccer ball shape, then larger molecules, then molecules with over 800 atoms, each time the same result. The molecules, when unobserved, behave as waves, passing through both slits, interfering with themselves. When observed, they behave as particles. The boundary between quantum and classical has never been found. There is no line in nature where the rules change. What changes is the practical difficulty of maintaining quantum coherence as systems get larger, because larger systems interact with more of their environment, and those interactions function as a kind of measurement, collapsing the superposition. This process is called decoherence, and it is real and well understood. But decoherence does not explain why measurement produces a definite outcome. It explains why large objects appear classical. It does not explain the transition from possibility to actuality. That remains, in the words of physicist Roger Penrose, the deepest mystery in physics. So the boundary is not a wall, it is a gradient, and you are not on the safe side of it, living in a classical world that obeys different rules. You are inside the quantum world. You have always been inside it. The classical world is not a separate domain. It is what the quantum world looks like when decoherence has done its work, when the interference patterns have become so complex and entangled with the environment that they are practically invisible. But practically invisible is not the same as non-existent. This is the point where I want to bring in something from a very different tradition, because the convergence is too precise to ignore. In the Yogacara school of Buddhist philosophy, developed in the 4th century by the half-brothers Asanga and Vasubandhu, there is a concept called Vijnapti Matra, sometimes translated as consciousness only or representation only. The core claim is that what we experience as an external world is not separate from the mind that perceives it. This is not solipsism. It is not the claim that nothing exists outside your personal awareness. It is the claim that the division between perceiver and perceived is itself a construction, that experience arises as a unified field in which subject and object co-emerge. Vasubandhu laid this out with careful logical arguments in a text called the Vimsatika, the 20 verses. One of his key arguments is this: in a dream, you experience objects that seem external, solid, real. They have location, color, texture. Other dream characters seem to have their own agency, yet all of it is arising within consciousness. The question Vasubandhu asks is not whether the waking world is a dream. The question is, what is your basis for assuming the waking world operates on a fundamentally different principle? What evidence do you have that the solidity you experience is a property of something out there rather than a feature of how experience itself is structured? 1,500 years later, the double-slit experiment provides a startlingly specific answer to Vasubandhu's question. The solidity you experience is not a property of something out there. At the quantum level, there is no out there independent of observation. The properties you encounter are co-created in the act of encountering them. The particle and the measurement apparatus are not separate systems that interact. They are, in the language of quantum mechanics, entangled. They form a single system whose properties are only defined relationally. This relational view has been developed most rigorously by the physicist Carlo Rovelli in his relational interpretation of quantum mechanics. Rovelli argues that quantum mechanics is not telling us that reality is subjective. It is telling us that reality is relational. Properties do not belong to objects in isolation. They belong to interactions between objects. An electron does not have a position. It has a position relative to a measuring device. And the measuring device does not have a definite state in isolation either. It has a state relative to another system that interacts with it. All the way up, all the way out. There is no view from nowhere. There is no God's eye perspective from which all properties are simultaneously defined. Reality is a web of relations, and each node in the web is defined by its connections to the others. Now feel what this does to the assumption you have been carrying since before you could speak. The assumption that you are a subject inside a world of objects, that you are here, looking out at a reality that is there. Rovelli's relational quantum mechanics, Vasubandhu's consciousness only, and the double-slit experiment are all pointing at the same crack in that assumption. You are not inside the world. You are not outside it. You are a node in the web, and the web is not made of stuff. It is made of relations, of observations, of measurements, of experiences. This is where the implications start to become personal. Not personal in the sense of your individual story, but personal in the sense that they arrive in your body, in your felt sense of being alive, in the texture of this very moment as you listen. Because if properties emerge through observation, then the quality of your observation matters. Not as a metaphor, not as a self-help platitude, as a feature of how reality is structured. Consider what happens when you observe with fear. When you look at your life through the lens of anxiety, what do you see? You see threats. You see evidence that things are going wrong. You see confirmation of the story that the world is hostile and you are not enough. And here is the critical point. You are not imagining these things. They are real. The threats are real. The evidence is real. But they are real the way the interference pattern is real. They are the pattern that emerges from the particular way you are observing. Change the observation and the pattern changes. Not because you are deluding yourself, because observation and outcome are not separate processes. They are one process. This is not magical thinking. This is the structure of reality as revealed by the most precisely tested theory in the history of science. Quantum electrodynamics, the quantum theory of light and matter, has been verified to an accuracy of 12 decimal places. It is the most accurate theory humans have ever produced. And at its core is the principle that the outcome depends on the measurement, not on what is really there independent of measurement. On the measurement itself. So when you shift your attention, you are not just changing your experience of reality. You are participating in the process by which reality takes form. And this is why the practices that contemplative traditions have taught for thousands of years, meditation, mindfulness, directed attention, visualization, are not just psychological techniques for feeling better. They are technologies of observation. They change the instrument, and when the instrument changes, the measurement changes, and when the measurement changes, what is real changes. If you are feeling the weight of what observation truly means, there is something deeper I want to offer. Have you spent years chasing manifestation, visualizing, affirming, raising your vibration, only to watch the same patterns repeat? Every traditional method assumes the same thing, that you are separate from what you want. That separation was never real. You were chasing a signal you were already broadcasting. Beyond the frequencies, a quantum guide to consciousness mastery walks through all 9 frequencies, from the dense transmissions trapping you through the ascending currents to the master frequencies where consciousness becomes the field. Every method you tried sent a signal outward. This one tunes the signal you already are. Every day you delay, your nervous system broadcasts the same old signal, and breaking free gets harder. So move on it tonight. The link is in the pinned comment below. Now, let us bring this back to the practice that makes it real. Tell me something in the comments. What is one pattern of observation you have been carrying? One lens of fear or limitation or old identity that you are now ready to set down? Not because it was wrong, but because you are choosing a different measurement. I want to get specific here because specificity is where this stops being philosophy and starts being useful. There is a practice that comes directly from what we have been exploring, and it works with the gap that the delayed choice experiment reveals. The gap between event and observation, between what happens and what it means. Here is the practice. For the next week, choose one recurring situation in your life that triggers a strong reaction. It could be a conversation with a particular person. It could be the moment you check your phone in the morning. It could be the feeling that arrives when you sit down to work. Something specific, something that happens regularly. When that situation arises, instead of immediately reacting, instead of immediately interpreting what is happening, pause. Not a long pause, just a breath. One breath, and in that breath, notice that the situation has not yet been observed. I do not mean you have not seen it. I mean you have not measured it. You have not assigned it a definite value. It is still in superposition, still holding multiple possibilities. It could be a threat. It could be an opportunity. It could be neutral. It could be something you have never categorized before. In that breath, you are the experimenter choosing whether to place a detector at the slit. And the choice you make, the interpretation you assign, will determine which pattern emerges. Not metaphorically, structurally. Because your nervous system responds to the interpretation, not to the raw event. Your body releases cortisol or oxytocin based on what you decide the event means. Your subsequent actions flow from that hormonal cascade. The responses you get from others are shaped by the actions you take. The reality that unfolds is downstream of the observation you made in that single breath. This is not about positive thinking. Positive thinking tries to paste a pleasant interpretation over an event that you have already measured as negative. That does not work because the measurement has already collapsed the wave function, so to speak. The practice I am describing is earlier than that. It is about catching the moment before the collapse. before the interpretation, before the meaning has been assigned, and resting in the superposition long enough to recognize that you have a choice you did not know you had. The physicist Wolfgang Pauli, one of the founders of quantum mechanics, spent the last decades of his life in dialogue with the psychologist Carl Jung. Their correspondence, collected and published after both their deaths, reveals a shared conviction that the boundary between mind and matter is not where common sense places it. Pauli wrote that the most important developments in physics would come not from new experiments, but from a new understanding of the relationship between the observing mind and the physical world. He believed that the unconscious mind and the quantum world shared a common ground, a layer of reality he called the unus mundus, the one world where the distinction between inner and outer had not yet been made. Jung, for his part, had already developed the concept of synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that could not be explained by causation, but that carried a significance too precise to be dismissed as chance. A patient dreams of a golden scarab beetle, and at that moment, a scarab beetle flies against the window of Jung's office. A man thinks of a childhood friend he has not seen in 30 years, and the phone rings, and it is that friend. These events are not caused in the classical sense. There is no chain of billiard ball interactions connecting the dream to the beetle, the thought to the phone call. But they are correlated, they are entangled, in a way that resembles nothing so much as quantum entanglement, where two particles separated by any distance remain instantaneously correlated, not because a signal passes between them, but because they are not, at the deepest level, separate. Bell's theorem, proven mathematically by John Stuart Bell in 1964 and confirmed experimentally by Alain Aspect in 1982 and by increasingly rigorous tests since then, demonstrates that quantum entanglement cannot be explained by any theory in which particles have pre-existing properties and communicate through local signals. The correlations are too strong. They violate what are called Bell inequalities, mathematical limits on how correlated two separate systems can be if they are truly separate and truly have definite properties before measurement. The violation of Bell inequalities means that at least one of those assumptions is wrong. Either the particles are not separate, or they do not have definite properties, or both. Most physicists accept both. The particles are not separate. They are part of a single quantum system that does not respect spatial distance, and they do not have definite properties until measured. The universe, at its foundation, is non-local and indefinite. It is a web of correlations without independently existing parts, and you live in this universe. You are made of these correlations. The feeling you have sometimes, that everything is connected, that a choice you make here ripples out in ways you cannot track, that your inner state and your outer circumstances are not as independent as they seem. That feeling is not a spiritual fantasy. It is a reasonable response to the actual structure of reality as revealed by the most precise measurements humans have ever made. But here is what I want you to notice. Knowing this intellectually changes almost nothing. You can read about the double-slit experiment and go right back to treating reality as a museum. You can understand Bell's theorem and still live as if your inner state has no effect on your outer world. The knowledge sits in one compartment of your mind, while your body continues operating on the old assumptions. This is because the old assumptions are not just ideas, they are wired into your nervous system. They are the way your eyes focus, the way your hands grip, the way your attention narrows when you feel threatened. The assumption that the world is solid and separate and already decided is not a belief you hold. It is a posture your body takes, and changing a posture requires something different from changing a belief. It requires practice, repetition, the slow repatterning of how you inhabit your own awareness. This is why every contemplative tradition in human history has emphasized practice over doctrine, not because the ideas do not matter, but because the ideas only matter when they become embodied, when they move from the head to the hands, when they change not what you think, but how you see. And this is what I am asking you to do with everything we have explored today. Not to believe it, not to add it to your collection of interesting concepts, but to let it change the way you look. Literally. The way your eyes move across a room, the way your attention settles on a face, the way you hold the present moment, not as a fixed point on a timeline, but as a living, breathing, unresolved superposition of possibilities that your observation is actively shaping. There is a particular quality of attention that the contemplative traditions call witness consciousness. In Advaita Vedanta, it is called Sakshi, the witness. It is the awareness that observes without collapsing, that sees without judging, that holds the superposition open rather than rushing to measurement. This is not passive. It is the most active thing you can do. Because the habit of the mind is to measure immediately, to categorize, to decide. This is good, this is bad, this is me, this is not me. That immediate measurement is what creates the classical world you live in. The world of solid objects and fixed identities and a past that is over and a future that has not happened yet. Witness consciousness does not refuse to measure. It delays the measurement. It holds the space open for one breath, two breaths, long enough for possibilities to remain possibilities, long enough for the interference pattern to form, long enough for something unexpected to emerge. And what emerges when you hold that space is not chaos. It is not confusion. It is a quality of experience that has no name in ordinary language, but that every contemplative tradition recognizes. A sense of aliveness that is prior to interpretation. A contact with reality that is more direct, not less, than your usual experience. Because your usual experience is already an interpretation. It is already a measurement. It is already a collapsed wave function. What witness consciousness offers is a glimpse of the wave before it collapses, the field before it becomes a particle, the moment before it becomes a memory. This is what the physicists found in their laboratories, translated into the language of lived experience. The world is not already here. It is arriving, constantly, through you, through the particular quality of attention you bring to each moment. You are not a spectator. You are the act of observation through which reality takes form. And this changes everything. Not in the way you might expect. Not by giving you magical powers or making your problems disappear. It changes everything by changing the one thing you actually have access to, which is the quality of your own attention. You cannot control what happens, but you can change how you observe what happens. And how you observe is not separate from what happens. That is the lesson of the double slit. That is the lesson of the delayed choice. That is the lesson that quantum physics has been trying to teach for 100 years, while most of the world plugged its ears. Consider sharing this with someone you know who is standing at that same threshold, someone who has felt the crack in the certainty but has not yet had words for it. When you share something like this, you are not just passing along information. You are extending the web of observation itself. You are creating a new node, a new point of awareness, and in a relational universe where nothing exists in isolation, that single act of connection changes the measurement for both of you. It strengthens your own understanding by expressing it outward, and it opens a door for someone else that they may not have found on their own. The physicist John Wheeler, near the end of his life, proposed what he called the participatory anthropic principle. His idea was that the universe requires observers to bring it into existence. Not that the universe was created in the past by a god or a Big Bang and then sat there waiting to be looked at, but that the universe is being created now, in every act of observation, and that observers are not an accident of evolution, but a necessary feature of a universe that exists only through participation. Wheeler drew a picture he called the meaning circuit. It showed a large letter U. At one end was the Big Bang. At the other end was an I, looking back at the Big Bang. The I at the end of the universe was observing the beginning of the universe. And that observation was what brought the universe into being. Past and future, observer and observed, locked in a loop where neither comes first. This is speculative. Wheeler knew it was speculative. But it is the kind of speculation that arises naturally from taking the experimental results seriously rather than explaining them away. And it resonates with something that you may have felt in moments of deep stillness, in meditation, in the seconds before sleep, in the pause between exhale and inhale. A sense that you are not just in the universe, that the universe is, in some way, in you, that your awareness is not a flashlight illuminating a pre-existing room, but a field in which the room and the flashlight and the one holding it all arise together. I want to close with something practical, not a grand statement, but a small shift you can make tonight. Before you sleep, in that liminal space where the day is releasing its grip and the mind is loosening its categories, notice what happens to the boundary between you and the world. In full waking consciousness, the boundary feels sharp. You are here, inside your skin. The world is there, outside it. But as you approach sleep, the boundary softens. Sounds from the room start to feel like they are inside you. Thoughts arise that you did not choose. Images that belong to no narrative. Sensations that have no location. You are entering superposition. The definite, measured, classical self is relaxing back into the wave function from which it emerged that morning, when you woke up and measured yourself into existence by opening your eyes and remembering your name. In that liminal space, ask one question, not with effort, not with the demand for an answer. Just let the question float, like a leaf on water. The question is this: what am I before I decide what I am? Do not answer it. The answer would be a measurement. It would collapse the superposition. Just hold the question. Let it resonate. Let it interfere with all the other questions you have been carrying. The ones about your worth, your purpose, your future, your past. Let the interference pattern form, and then let sleep take you, carrying the question into a space where the usual rules of observation do not apply, where the wave function is free to evolve without measurement, where possibilities remain possibilities. When you wake in the morning, you will measure yourself back into existence. You will open your eyes, and the room will be there, solid, definite, classical. But something may be different. The measurement may be slightly different. The pattern that emerges may have shifted, just barely, just enough to notice. A new thought, a different feeling about the day, a sense that the museum has a door you had not seen before, and the door is open, and through it is not another room but open air. This is what quantum physics is actually about. Not particles, not equations, not technology. It is about the relationship between the observer and the observed, and the discovery that this relationship is not incidental to reality, but constitutive of it. Reality is not a noun, it is a verb, and you are conjugating it with every glance, every breath, every choice about where to place your attention. The experiments are clear. The results are in. They have been in for 100 years. The only question left is whether you will let them change how you see. Not how you think, how you see, because seeing is not passive. Seeing is the act through which the world becomes the world. And you have been doing it your whole life without knowing what you were doing. Now you know. And knowing changes the instrument. And when the instrument changes, everything changes. Not because reality was waiting for your permission, but because reality was waiting for your participation. It always has been. The particles knew it before you did. The wave function knew it. The interference pattern knew it. The only one who did not know was the one doing the looking, because the one doing the looking was so busy measuring that they forgot they were part of the measurement. You are part of the measurement. You have always been part of the measurement. And the measurement is not finished. It is never finished. It is happening now, in this breath, in this moment of listening, in the quality of attention you are bringing to these words. The wave function has not collapsed. The pattern has not been fixed. The past is still open. The future is still open. And the present is the place where the observation happens. So observe well. Observe with the full depth of your awareness. Not because the universe needs you to save it, but because the universe needs you to see it. And in the seeing, you will find that what you are seeing and what you are would have never been two things. They have always been one process, one movement, one wave, arriving everywhere at once and becoming real wherever it is received. If this shifted something in you, even slightly, stay with it. Do not rush to the next video, the next idea, the next measurement. Let the interference pattern form. Subscribe if you want to continue exploring this space. Leave a thought in the comments, not a conclusion, but a question, something still in superposition. And share this with someone who is ready to see the door they have been walking past. Not everyone is ready, but the ones who are will recognize it. The way you recognized it. The way the particle recognizes the slit. Not by thinking about it, by passing through.